So I'm working on this MXZ 700. I think it's a 2002. Nice machine. It's in good shape. Very clean. But a few things it needs. I'm going to have to get slides for it. They're pretty well wore out. I wouldn't want to go too far on them. One would end up wearing through, so it's going to need slides. Carbides. Got one there wore right off. It's got a steering issue. You can see that one piece there has a lot of play in it, but I think it's just because the bolt's loose, because I can turn it by hand and there's a nut on the bottom, so I'm just going to try tightening that up, see if that works. And then it's got this big dent here in the control arm. I'm going to try to fix that because that's a very weak point. And I mean, I could buy a new one, but I think I can just cut that, flatten it out, weld it back together, and it'll be better than this anyway. So it's worth a try. And then it'll get all the rest of the normal stuff, grease, blow out the belt dust out of the clutches, and maybe a new set of plugs. I'll check those out, see what kind of shape those are in. Oh, geez, looks like that hasn't been off in a while. Stuck right on there. Well, at least it's the right ones. Oh. No, it's not. BPR6ES and a BR9ES. I don't know, I've been getting a lot of mixed and matched plugs lately. I don't know what's up with that. So I'm going to try to straighten this arm. As you can see, it's not that bad. But what I just did was, this bottom part here is welded, so I cut two of the welds in the middle, and I put it with the high side, with the bent part up, the high part, and I basically stood on that and stomped it down, and it got like twice as good as what it was. So what I'm thinking is this has just a bad kink in it, and it's mostly here, like where this edge runs. That's where the worst part of the kink is. If I could punch that out from the back side, I think I can get this to straighten right up, and then I can re-weld this bottom back together, and it'll be just as strong as it was. So I kind of changed my mind on the fly here sometimes, just, you know, figuring out something different, and I went and tried it here instead of drilling a hole. So what I did was I just took a chisel, and since I cut the welds, I hammered that in there and it opened it up a bit. Then I could get in with my pry bar, and I got on the back side of the dent. So I'm going to try that instead. Maybe I can get it out that way. There you go, it's not too bad. Now they're straightened out pretty decent. And it's not perfect, but straight this way at least. So the ski won't be turned the same way as it was. And it should sit level. This way has got a little bend still, but I couldn't get that out. So I don't want to spend any more time because it only took half an hour to do that. So instead of buying a new one, should do the trick. Power valves are not too bad. There's no carbon stuck to them at all, but they're a little sticky, so I'm just going to clean that off and put them back in. So there's a lot of play in the steering in this. On a sled like this, with everything pretty tight, this much movement from the handlebars is quite a bit. So I started looking into it. As you can see, the ski is not even moving, and I have that much play. So the problem actually is down in here, this arm where it mounts has a bolt that goes right through the frame to the underneath of the sled in the front. Well, that bolt is loose. There's a nut on the other side, so Just going to tighten that up and see if it fixes the problem. So the nut is way in under here. See, that's it right there. Right there. But if you leave it sitting on this, with the pressure on the skis, this arm is way up and it blocks off that nut, so you can't even get at it. So I got to lift it up like this, and was able to get a socket on there and tighten it up. As you can see, that's all the play there is now. So that's a lot better. So here's the new carbides. They're nothing special, just a plain trail carbide, nothing too aggressive. So what I'm going to do, because this sled has 2 carbides per ski, so that means there's one of these on each side of the ski. And I got one set because the old ones on the other side are still good. I mean, they're pretty much the same as these, so I said, what's the point of changing them? So what I'm going to do, just to even things out, is I've taken one carbide off of that side because that was the good side. So I took the inside one off of there and I put it on the outside here, and I'm going to take the new ones, I'll put them on the inside of each ski. So that way everything should be pretty well the same and it should wear evenly. And I only have to buy one set. So I'm changing the slides on this, and there's one problem with these that makes this hard, is the slides are actually quite a bit wider than the holes in the track. So you see, this is the new one, and that's how much wider they are. So what I do to put them back in is I tapered down the end a little bit, just with a knife, just so it makes it easier to slide it in. And still after this it's going to be hard, but I'll get it in somehow. And a little move it goes a long way on a job like this. This is why I'm changing the chain case oil. Pretty milky looking. Now this is 100% synthetic. This small container pretty well fills it. There's not much left in it. But you can use transmission fluid. I mean, that's what I've used. It's a lot cheaper and easier to get. Anything really will work in there. Gear oil's a little heavy, but anything lightweight and good for gears and stuff will work just fine. So I checked the belt deflection and it seemed a little bit loose to me. So at first on this adjuster here, it was on number 1. So I went and I put it to number 5 because I figured it was pretty loose and I didn't know how sensitive this was going to be. So I put it to 5 and it's too tight. And really all it does is just kind of opens or closes the clutch, and it raises the belt in the pulley. So I think I'm going to put it on number 3, and I'm hoping that's going to be it. It's pretty simple. You just loosen up these 3 bolts and then loosen them up enough that you can turn this adjuster, because this is kind of on a taper. So and then you just pick whatever setting you want and then tighten the bolts back down. Then you got to roll the clutch a little bit so the belt gets straightened out to where it's going to go, and then you can test it. Well, 3 wasn't happening, so we went to 4, and I find that's just right.